Yeah, the key is, your audience is out there, but you can't afford to reach all of them in the hope that those that are genuinely interested in cataract surgery, hip replacements, urological problems, raised PSA, whatever, you can't hope to reach them all cost effectively. So you've got to narrow things down so you can reach the people you want cost effectively so you can still generate income from the overall process. And as I say, it's a matter of how, that's one of the reasons, again, you've got to be able to have this, you've got to go through this avatar process of creating the paper image, if you like, the pen image, what's going on here, of the person you're looking for, because once you can describe them, now you can identify how best to reach them. So on Facebook, the process is, it's again, now there's lots of things with Facebook that's talking about, like my business page, like this, like that, and you'll see a lot of social media marketers who will say we ought to do this and build your brand and blah, 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 and it's all bollocks, all right? Because we don't believe in this brand advertising bullshit, which you can't measure and you can't determine how effective or otherwise it has been. It's direct response advertising that we want. We want to spend £100 to get 100 people or whatever it might be to our website and say out of those 10, 5, 1 people respond, pay us money to consult with us, then we've got, right, so we paid £100 to get them in and we've got X amount of money come out of it. Is it worthwhile doing that thing again that we did or not? Now we've got an answer. And if it's been successful, we scale and improve. If it hasn't been successful, we decide whether it's worth tweaking to improve or to just bin it and try something else. That's what we want. And so you want to, it's all about direct response. So with this, for example, it's pay-per-click. So you put up an advert, you only pay when people click on it, you want them to click on it. Then they end up at your website on a landing page, a specific page that is talking only about the condition you're targeting in the advert. Yeah? So for you, with your sports injury knee, you don't talk about any other issues about the knee, of arthritis or degenerative knee replacement or hemiarthroplasty. You don't talk any of that sort of stuff. You just talk about the problems of the injured knee and how you can help them and what the person should do. Now, the issue is that few people will make the most wanted response if it's picking up the phone, that we've already said, yeah? And that can mean that can mean generating the return on investment through advertising is harder than it needs to be if you're doing something like pay-per-click or Facebook, yeah? So if you do something like email marketing there, you can make, so if you're sending people and you tell them to pick up the phone, for example, you might get, just for the sake of numbers, 1 in 100 people pick up the phone. That would be a ginormous success, by the way, but just to give you numbers, right? And then if it's 1 in 100 people picking up the phone, that might not be a profitable campaign. That might be a disaster financially. It's just not worked. But if you're asking them to get a free report, and now, again, random numbers, 10 people get the free report, and of those 5 people go on to say, I want to see you, can you fix my eyes, please? Then the numbers out in the wash now, instead of 100, you've got 500. Now it's worthwhile. So do you see the different approach to what you want people to do with an advert can turn a failure campaign into something that's potentially wildly successful? It's a slightly nuanced argument there, but have you got anything to add to that?
No, I think you've hit it all pretty much there, and I think the only other thing that you could just mention really is about the targeting. So who sees your ad is the most important thing, because it's not about eyeballs. It doesn't matter if
vegetarians and sausages.
Yeah, you need to make sure that it's the relevant number of people seeing your ad. So you can create an audience and it's saying you're going to reach 1 million people and this sounds all lovely and fantastic, but that 1 million people is going to be far too broad. So you're going to need to narrow it down as much as possible. So the demographics of the age and interests and hobbies and things like that. So you can target, for example, for knees, for example, you could target in on people who are into particular types of sport, who are likely to get a knee injury. So you can target in on their interest based on the groups that they're in on Facebook and all sorts of things like that.
That's John McCulloch who spoke to us yesterday. I don't fancy him.
So that's the important thing, is targeting, because it's one of the most important things with Facebook is the audience. Who's going to see your ad? Because trust me, if you put up an ad, you will spend your daily budget. Facebook will find a way to spend your daily budget. Because again, Facebook don't care if you get leads or not.
And you would get that. This is one of the ads I copied for you. Look. Can everyone see that? BMI, the Princess Margaret Hospital. They are advertising here. There you go, cosmetic surgery. Now, oh sugar. Twice. Not interested. Let's click on the ad and see what they do.
It's pushing you to an event, isn't it?
Right. Ben, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good way to. This could actually be a good way to generate patients, I suppose, for you, because this. I know a couple of people I manage ads for do this particular strategy. They will hold open days, events, things like that, and they will target the individuals that are likely to be interested. So they will run an event, they'll put the event on Facebook, and then they promote the event on Facebook. So it's a very similar thing to the style of marketing where you're trying to get them to give you their details, but instead of giving you their details in the form of name and an email, they will come to your event. So this is again another way of holding, coffee morning or something like that, where you talk about what you need to talk about to book them in for consultation.
Yes, absolutely. You can hold an event, and this will work very well for a well man kind of thing, a PSA kind of thing, a worried about your eyesight. You could hold a clinic in the golf club, for example. I know I keep talking about golf, and maybe you've never held a golf club in anger in your life. But my point is how you differentiate yourself and how you reach out to other people. Yeah? And it could even work with you, actually, because when do people get chest pain? When do people get symptoms of heart failure? It's when, for example, they're exercising or they're cold, isn't it? There you go.
You get there's a golf course near us, the first at Merrick Park. People say, if that doesn't bring on my angina, nothing will. It's like classic. So in so many places to say, because you start off, you're cold, and it's a hill straight up.
Hang a banner from the tree.
But you could easily hold a clinic there.
Question mark.
Yeah, and winter is a great time because the hardcore golfers are out there still. Hold a little display stand in the 19th hole. Come and stop by for a chat. I'm a local cardiologist and blah blah blah. There you go.
Put some in the clubhouse in the pro shop.
And the 19th hole, fantastic. I mean, what I would say to add to this is that, you could hold meetings and all the rest of it, but the trouble is that here am I. You're asking me for a bit. I've ended up here and decided I'm umming and ahhing about cosmetic surgery. So should I go on? I don't know, and I decide not. But I'm gone now forever. And if you'd offered me, like, get your free book, free course, free something about cosmetic surgery, things to consider as a man for cosmetic surgery or something. And if these guys haven't been particularly smart at all, because they should be talking about man cosmetic surgery, because I'm a man. They could easily know that. They could be man cosmetic surgery they're talking about here, whatever that might be. And then another one that women would see talking about cosmetic surgery for women.
You can remarket to the people that have said they're interested, though.
Right.
So you could then serve the people that have said they're interested an advert about the book.
Yeah, good point.
Which is a way of almost having people raise their hand saying they're interested, and then you retarget them further.
And see, the thing is, look, the big boys are doing this. They're doing it for a reason. It works. And they're clever. The fantastic thing is that you don't have to be a big boy to do it. You guys could do it. And you could do it easily much, much better than them because of what you know now.
And you don't need big budgets to test this either.
No.
You can run this on £5 a day. It's an easy way to test it.
No, it's just typical, isn't it, when you're looking for it. I had stuff coming up, about moob reduction. Clearly they know me very well. Cosmetic surgery for men and stuff coming up. All sorts of stuff, adverts that will come up. So we'll just assume that's fine. So at least it's not a picture of John McCulloch we've got to look at. So fitness, what else is there?
I think that would pretty much summarise it anyway. I think that's a good
we put it there, I
snapshot
think.
of it.
Any questions at all? I think the critical thing is talk about the demographics and the avatar and make that up with the fact that the only way is pay-per-click on Facebook. Yeah, use the pay-per-click approach to Facebook marketing. Don't use the likes.
So
and
the
all the
only
rest of
Facebook
it.
I've done is when I put a post on it, it asks you to boost it, and I press boost because it's really easy.
See, I wouldn't
But I
go
got
that route.
trolled that
Yeah.
way by I got called a fucking ageist by some horrible looking man on Facebook. With,
You will get comments like that. The best thing to do is just delete them.
How do you delete the
Don't
comment?
interact.
How do you delete the comment? Because you can't delete the
if you-
post as far as I can.
No. If you look at it from the page admin,
Right.
then you can manage the comments
Oh, okay.
and just hide them because there's no point in engaging with these people. But additionally, I wouldn't boost the posts because the boost post settings don't always work as well as a proper ad. So you can do an ad in the same way as a normal post, like it looks like a normal post, but it's a
And you
proper
do
ad
that
and you've got
through-
much better and more refined controls over
Yeah,
there.
so I've just been
Yeah.
putting them up there, and then if it's asking to boost them for a tenner, I've boosted them.
Yeah.
Because it's easy.
You'll get likes and things like that, but you'll rarely get any real
from it.
real interaction.
That is very good advice.
Cool. Okay.
Right.
Should I
Yeah.
detach myself?
Detach yourself, jolly good. Now then, any questions about that at all? Everything all right? Could do some stuff about free publicity in the time left. Or just leave you with this. All right. What do you think? Yeah. Right. Okay, has everyone got enough information they can put to use in their practices? Have you all got a plan in your head? Some ideas about what you're going to implement in what order? Hopefully the first what order will be... Oh, the other thing I thought was bunged on here, by the way. Don't forget the possibility of doing well man, well woman, cardiac health assessment clinics, whatever, PSA clinics,
How can you set those things up though?
just set it up. So for example, a cardiac health clinic would be, what would you do? You'd take a history, examine the patient, you'd expect the examination to be normal. You'd ask,
mostly.
that's it. Cholesterol,
Blood pressure.
blood pressure, job done. There's a lot of demand out there now. And as a screening process, we know it's pointless. As a screening process and rolling it out countrywide, we know it's a gargantuan waste of time. But at an individual level, if there's demand for it, you're not harming anybody. If there's demand for it, you might well be doing somebody a favour, because if somebody is worried about their heart, there may well be a good reason for them to worry. And by putting their minds at rest, that's a good thing.
Do you mean the idea of this would be to set up a specific, you're doing on 1st of April, I'm going to do a screening clinic, or you bill it as cardiac screening, but actually you just fit it into your normal clinic?
you call it whatever you want, a well-man clinic, a well-man heart health clinic, I don't know. Do you know, and you could address that as saying if you've got a family history of heart disease or diabetes or whatever, get seen, because this is something anyone could do. You could obviously do that with PSAs and so on, worried about your waterworks kind of thing.
And then just advertise with Google Ads and all the rest of it that we've talked about.
Yeah. You could do that as an eye surgeon, you could do that as an orthopod, and one great way of doing it as an orthopod, of course. And by the way, think of the needs of your patient. So somebody who's got an ACL, they've got a pretty good chance of having injured their ACL through a sporting injury, yeah? If you know that they're, say, a skier, like me, they've knackered their ACL and you fixed it, well, this is very, very valuable and important information, because now the next skiing season will start December. So you say, right, okay, well, Julie Jones, I fixed her ACL. She's got through the physio, she's done well, but she's a skier. So come October next year, or this year, you get in touch with her and say, dear Mrs. Jones, how are you doing? Want to catch up with you because you know, we fixed up your ACL and I know you're a keen skier. Here's a brochure for the latest ski holidays that are going on. I'm sure you've seen it already. Have you thought about the importance of building up your quads? We talked about that last time, so as your recovery, you need to build up your quads again before you go skiing to minimise the risk of injury. My team are running a pre-ski season beef up your quads, call it what you want, package.
The hospitals are doing, a number of the physios in the private hospitals are doing that, but it's not coming through us. You see, they're already doing it. But yes, it's a great idea.
And you've got that list of patients. You could go home, go back to the list of patients you've done ACL on in the last 5 years. Well, call it 2 years, be better because familiarity. Find out, remind yourself. You probably remember often what, why, and when for you did them.
Yeah.
And then send them a letter, inviting them for pre-season muscle training, pre-football season, pre-rugby, pre-gym, although gym isn't a seasonal thing, pre-skiing. Easy. You can do this with complications. Because, for example, patients who've had cataract surgery, there is, I think, was it 15% complication rate, PCO-ish? 12, 15%?
Oh, well, PCO is different, that's not really complication, I have 7.
Yeah, all right.
Maybe 30%.
All right, so and I'm sure you'll correct me when I get it wrong, but yeah, when in cataract surgery, when you replace somebody's cataract lens with a new synthetic, you hoik out the old lens and you put a new synthetic lens in the bag that remains. One of the, if it's not a complication, one of the developments thereafter that occurs in a significant proportion of patients is that the bag itself starts to get cloudy, and that's called PCA, posterior capsular pacification. It's a very well recognised thing. It happens in a large proportion of people, and it's easily treated with laser. Right. Now, you have inside knowledge about this because you happen to be an eye surgeon, so you better know this, yeah? But because you know this, and because you've got a database of patients that you've treated for cataracts in the last 2 years, 5 years, you can write a letter to all of them saying, dear Doris, how are you doing? I thought I'd offer you a free checkup to see how you're getting on, because sometimes people do have problems with their eyesight. If you'd like to pop in, I'd be delighted to see you. And you know that of those people who turn up, firstly, they're more likely to have complications because to develop PCO, because they're there. And secondly, that the treatment is nice and easy and simple and straightforward and will make them feel great again, so you're doing them a great benefit and service. And secondly, the treatment is chargeable. Anyone could do this. You can make, so even though you wouldn't call it a complication, the point is, you know, you can, by knowing the nature of the clinical conditions of patients you treat, you can put that to work in your private practice in a way that you cannot in the NHS. You could call it medication review for people with heart failure.
That's just what I've written down, actually. And it's even easier with heart failure because NICE guidelines say you should be seen every 6 months. Yeah, right.
And insured or uninsured, they'll cover for a certain period, and then it doesn't matter. You can write back to them again.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be a hard sell. Dear Mr. Jones, I was delighted to see you 6 months ago. Blah blah blah. and I'm glad. I hope you're doing really well. I'm glad that we could fix you up. It's important that you get reviewed regularly according to national guidelines for heart failure management. I'd be delighted to see you again if you wanted to.
At the moment, what I do is I get my secretary to have she's got a database, and she'll just set reminders to call Joe Bloggs in 6 months. But I wonder whether actually a letter formally might be better. You know, it's just more personal to them.
Yes. And there are ways of sending out those letters in an automated manner. Because you can, with the automated email systems that we talked about, they can send out mail in an automated manner as well. But these are small. That sort of detail is fine print. But my point is, there are so many different things you could do. You can turn these little, I don't know, you wouldn't call them complicated, but this whole issue of follow-up and other symptoms and new things that develop and complications, you can turn those to the patient's benefit and to your advantage as well in growing your practice. See? Now, I think it's time to wind up, and what I want to leave you with is one thing, is that you've got a huge amount of information now, I hope, which you can put to work in your private practice and will yield you results as long as you put them into action. But the hurdle you face is actually doing it. Because here you're a bit fired up, you've got a lot of ideas in your mind, you get out there and make it happen, all right? But it's when you get home and you've got the daily demands coming back to you, that's when the challenge comes. So, what I wanted to tell you about is about the Private Practice Academy, which we've already mentioned, and one way that you can work with me and with trusted members of my team to grow your practice, and that involves a mastermind. And what we'll be doing is meeting every 4 times a year here, and we'll be going through every element of your private practice, both as a group and individually, to identify problems and fix them and put them right. Make them happen, make them right. Because the trouble is twofold. Doing it on your own is hard, and you're doing it without any kind of support or routing squad. In fact, you've got everyone dissing you and making your life difficult. Your colleagues aren't supportive, your family aren't always supportive because you're always away working, and it's easy to get discouraged. So if you wanted to go down this route, let me know afterwards. We'll be speaking once a month for an hour to go through issues of your private practice. We'll be meeting 4 times a year. You'll get the benefits of being a member of my Private Practice Success Inner Circle included. So that's newsletters, that's teleseminars, that's a whole host of other information to grow your private practice. And you'll also be getting access to trusted members of my team, such as Ben, who will be able to fix you up with websites and everything else you might need, and special discounts to do that. So have a think. If that's of interest, let me know. Catch me afterwards. In the meantime, any questions? Anything you want to ask?
If you had a sort of top 3 implementation
Yep.
to start with, what would it, I mean, sort of in my head, but what would your thoughts be?
It would be this. Delete that. But it's this. You need to go in and look at what you're doing, fix all this before you do anything else. Because, as we've said, you know, you're sending traffic with your advertising and marketing to your website, and if your website's not working, then you're going to waste a lot of money. Which is not to say it won't be worthwhile, because it might work, but your likelihood of success is much, much lower. Similarly, you're already going to be hemorrhaging money through poor admin. Secretary, telephonist, VA, billing. It's going, you're losing a lot of money. There is no question. That needs to be fixed. At least that is quick. Tracking. There is a process that you'll have already to generate private patients. However inefficient that might be, there is a route by which patients are coming to see you. you need to identify what that route is, the pathway, how people are getting to you, however badly or inefficiently it's working, and the fact is it's working, and do more of it. That will generate patients for you. And then the things you are doing that are not working, you need to identify and either make work or stop. I suggest you stop. And you obviously need to connect the testimonials in an ongoing manner, because, you know, starting back at the office tomorrow, starting back in clinic tomorrow, you'll be getting testimonials, people say nice things. You should be recording those as you go. Anything else? Dave? Any questions? Thought you were asleep there. Good. I think we're done.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
I think it's helpful. If I know the camera's stopped rolling. If like, you know, if we've got 1 minute to think, and then we also, so, you know, because we thought this blueprint, right? You know, a blueprint implies it's blue and it's printed. So, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What's your goal over the 2 or 3 days, like months? What are you going to do?
You want to say
What are you going to do? Yeah. Because we're all different.
Yeah,
We're all at different
exactly.
stages of our careers, of what we're already doing, and all the rest.
By going, you should, I would have hoped, sort of picked up this, picked up that, picked up the other thing. Right, that would fit into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And created your thing. So the last point about writing a letter to your past cataract patients, or past ACL patients, or past, you know, former patients you've treated for heart failure, you can knock that letter up this evening and have that in the post tomorrow. But there'll be different things for different people, and that blueprint should be there in front of you, and you need a plan of attack. So that's a very good question. Chris, what's it going to be?
Telephone number. In terms of what I do, what my next, so telephone number, and separate my NHS from my private stuff. Website, and with the website, the content, so get avatars and write the bits about the specific conditions and symptoms and what have you,
Right.
and get them working.
Okay, when are you going to get that done by?
To be honest, probably do it all within a week to 2 weeks.
Okay,
I think it's all doable.
good. Vivek,
Well,
you're very quiet, that's
I
unusual.
think, you know, I want to set up a website, www.directwardwood.co.uk, and then link that into into my existing profiles. I mean, I've got to be careful what I do and how much I'm allowed to do, as in view of the fact that I am part of this chambers now, and I've got to make sure what I do isn't, you know, it doesn't contradict the rules of that. Having said that, I don't see why I still can't market myself. And you know, I just think, looking at there's certain things I've learned which I never thought about, the AdWords and, you know, things like that I never really knew existed before this. So it's made me a lot more aware of different things out there. And, you know, before I came here, I was very much of the old school, that GPs controlled 100% of private practice. And then it's a bit naive, because myself, now when I do things, first thing I'll do is go on Google and look up. So it was a bit naive of me to not recognise that patients must be doing that as well. You know, for doctors, and that's a huge place to tap in, which I've been missing out on.
Have I shaken your worldview a bit?
Well, I think you've made me
Hope
realise
so.
'cause I think a lot of your emails you send, you do mention there that there's a lot of other ways now apart from general practitioners, but I never quite realised how significant that is.
Ahmed?
Well, one of the things I'm we said yesterday about concentrating on a few conditions. So I've made a list of 3 conditions that I probably should be targeting. 2 really common ones. One is dry eye,
Right.
which loads and millions of people have, and they're always moaning about how irritable their eyes are, uncomfortable they are. They're never going to get better, so it's a chronic problem.
Is there a lot of unmet need out there for that,
yeah,
do you think?
Yeah, there's very
Okay.
unhappy patients, and that's partly because there's nothing we do, we can't cure them, so they keep going back for consultation, etc. But they are a recurring market.
Right.
Second is cataracts, of course, so that's very surgical. That third is my own niche, which is droopy faces. So
Right.
to work on those, and also
Right.
to streamline my website with those conditions in mind.
Okay. Good. Paul.
Loads on that paper. So I think the systems is vital. I think I'm sure I've lost patients because secretary's not answered the phone, and et cetera. I've got to say, I've the website thing, I've taken it all on board, and I've made actually untold changes to the website. You should have a look at it over the last since we've been speaking, and I've had just having a really good chat with Dave before in the break. I've already changed the way I've written the sentences. Have a look. I've written sentences and the conditions, and it just all looks a bit more person friendly. So whilst it's not perfect and it doesn't load as quickly and there's probably a few bugs, it's probably not as good as a website you could write for me. It's not bad for the changes, and I probably will get it updated. But at the moment, I don't think it massively lets me down as much as before. But the systems are important. What I really want to do is try and do some of the high level marketing, and do it probably on tracking and that's something I'm considering getting help and advice on, because I'm not going to, the stuff is easy, but the other one needs expertise, which is going to take me too long to get that expertise, I think.
Right.
Taking your advice and changing my Wix website, as the guys have seen, is easy, but doing Google ads, Facebook ads, getting tracking, all that sort of stuff, I don't think is easy for a computer illiterate surgeon.
Right.
So I think I really need to do that.
Right.
And I've just started writing my knee pain worksheet. So I've written, what should you do if you have knee pain, and I've written that now. Pretty much it's a page, 100 words, 200 words, 500 words.
Brilliant.
Finished. So to facilitate that, click, this is your website. Click, create my email stream. I've got to get stuck into that. I reckon that's really important. I can't change lots of other things. I can see GPs, but it's taken me 2 years to see 50 GPs. There's 500 GPs. It's going to take me another 10 years to see the rest of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Paul,